Massive attack. Jacob Fatu just did this to Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed after what they did to Jey and Roman. What the hell just happened? Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, the most dangerous member of the bloodline, the man who strikes fear into everyone who steps into the ring with him, just demolished both Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed in a display of violence so brutal, so calculated, so absolutely devastating that it might have changed the entire landscape of WWE in one night. This wasn't a wrestling match. This wasn't a storyline beat. This was retribution. This was family protecting family. This was the bloodline sending a message that if you come after Roman Reigns and GUSO, you better be prepared to answer to the most dangerous man in all of professional wrestling. And Bron and Reed just learned that lesson the hard way. I am shook. I am hyped. And I am absolutely terrified of what this means, because Jacob Fatu doesn't just attack people, he destroys them. He ends careers. He creates nightmares. And now he set his sights on the Vision's most physically dominant members. Drop in the comments right now, is Jacob Fatu the most terrifying force in WWE, or are Bron and Reed going to bounce back and make him regret this? Because after what we just witnessed, I don't know how anyone survives that level of destruction. Let me be absolutely clear about the context here, because Jacob Fatu's attack didn't happen in a vacuum. This was a response to Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed crossing a line that should never be crossed in wrestling. They attacked the bloodline. They put their hands on Roman Reigns. They brutalized GUSO. And in doing so, they awakened a monster that they are not prepared to handle. Question for the bloodline historians: is Jacob Fatu the most violent enforcer the bloodline has ever had, or does someone else hold that title? Give me your rankings. Let me break down exactly what led to this moment, because the backstory is crucial to understanding why Jacob Fatu's retaliation was so brutal and so personal. It started 2 weeks ago when Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed, fresh off their own internal conflict within the Vision but apparently united in their desire to make a statement, targeted GUSO backstage. She was alone, vulnerable, still dealing with his conflicted feelings about the Vision, and these two monsters jumped him without mercy. They beat G unconscious. Multiple powerbombs from Bron. Tsunami splashes from Reed. G was left broken and bleeding, and the message was clear: nobody is safe from the Vision's wrath, not even someone who used to be part of the faction. But that wasn't enough for these two. Last week, they went after the head of the table himself, Roman Reigns. Now, I don't care what you think about Roman's character or his booking. Attacking the tribal chief is declaring war on the entire bloodline. That's not just brave, that's suicidal. Roman was leaving the arena when Bron and Reed ambushed him. 2-on-1 assault on the most protected, most dominant champion in modern WWE history. They actually got the better of Roman in that exchange, which is saying something. They left him laid out, standing over him like they'd conquered a king. And in that moment, they made the biggest mistake of their careers. Because attacking Roman Reigns means answering to his enforcer, his protector, his weapon, Jacob Fatu. Let me ask, was attacking Roman Reigns the dumbest decision Bron and Reed ever made, or was it a necessary escalation to establish themselves? Sound off below. The setup for Jacob Fatu's revenge was perfect. WWE didn't announce his appearance. There were no spoilers. No one knew he was even in the building. That element of surprise made what happened next even more devastating. Monday Night Raw was in full swing. Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed were in the ring cutting a promo about their dominance, about how they don't need the Vision anymore, about how they're the real monsters of Monday nights. They were calling out anyone brave enough to face them. The crowd was booing them, which they should be. These guys have been brutal in their attacks, but there was also this underlying tension in the arena. People could feel that something was about to happen. The air was electric with anticipation. And then the lights went out. Complete darkness. The arena went silent except for a few screams and the confused commentary team trying to figure out what was happening. When the lights came back on, Jacob Fatu was standing on the ring apron. Not walking down the ramp, not making an entrance, just there, like a demon materializing from thin air. The crowd exploded with a mixture of shock and excitement. Bron and Reed turned around and you could see the exact moment they realized they were in serious danger. Their expressions went from cocky confidence to legitimate concern in a split second. Because everyone knows Jacob Fatu's reputation. Everyone knows what he's capable of. Question: what's the most intimidating entrance you've ever seen in wrestling? Does Jacob Fatu's sudden appearance rank in your top 5? Jacob didn't wait for them to process what was happening. He entered the ring and immediately went on the attack. He hit Bron with a super kick that sent him flying out of the ring. Then he turned his attention to Reed, and what followed was a masterclass in controlled violence. Jacob Fatu versus Bronson Reed, two of the heaviest, most powerful men in WWE, going at each other with full force. These weren't worked punches. These were strikes with intent. The sound of their impacts echoed through the arena. Reed tried to use his size advantage, but Jacob is a different kind of big man. He's got speed, agility, and most importantly, that Samoan warrior mentality that makes him legitimately dangerous. He was hitting Reed with moves that a man his size should not be able to execute. A suicide dive to the outside. A moonsault from the top rope. Jacob Fatu was defying physics while simultaneously destroying one of the Vision's most dominant members. The crowd was losing their minds. Bron tried to get involved, tried to make it 2-on-1 again, but Jacob caught him with a Samoan drop that looked like it folded Bron in half. Then he hit Reed with a running hip attack that sent him crashing through the barricade. This was total domination. But Jacob wasn't done. This wasn't about winning a match, this was about sending a message. He proceeded to beat both men throughout the arena, into the crowd, through the concession area, backstage. This was a hunt, and Bron and Reed were the prey. Have you ever seen one person completely dominate two monsters like Jacob Fatu just did? Give me historical comparisons because this felt unprecedented. The most brutal moment came when Jacob got both men back to ringside. He set up a table, positioned Bron on it, climbed to the top rope, all 300+ pounds of pure violence, and hit a moonsault that sent Bron through the table with such force that the ring shook. And Reed? Jacob hit him with not one, not two, but 3 consecutive hip attacks that left Reed motionless on the floor. The medical team was rushing out because these men looked legitimately injured. But before anyone could tend to them, Jacob grabbed a microphone. His voice was calm, controlled, but filled with menace. You put your hands on my family. You attacked G. You attacked Roman. Did you think there would be no consequences? The bloodline is not just a faction, it's family. And when you attack family, you answer to me. Chills. Absolute chills running down my spine. That wasn't a promo, that was a promise of continued violence. Jacob continued, Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman, the Vision, all of you. If you come after the bloodline again, what I did tonight will look like mercy compared to what comes next. This is your only warning. He dropped the microphone on Bron's unconscious body and walked away like he hadn't just committed assault on live television. That's the energy of someone who knows they're the most dangerous person in the building. Question: was Jacob Fatu's attack justified given what Bron and Reed did to G and Roman, or did he take it too far? There's a legitimate debate here. The immediate aftermath was chaos. Medical personnel attending to both men, officials trying to restore order, commentary team trying to process what they just witnessed. This wasn't scripted sports entertainment, this felt real. Backstage, Roman Reigns was shown watching on a monitor with a slight smile, not of joy, but of satisfaction. That's the look of a man whose enforcer just handled business exactly as intended. The tribal chief doesn't need to get his hands dirty when he is Jacob Fatu. GUSO was also shown watching, and his expression was complex. Relief that someone protected him? Guilt that his family had to get involved? Concern about escalating violence? G's internal conflict continues to be fascinating character work. The Vision's other members, Logan Paul specifically, were shown looking concerned. If Jacob Fatu is willing to do this to Bron and Reed, what would he do to a part-time celebrity wrestler? Logan just realized he might be in over his head. The social media reaction was immediate and massive. Jacob Fatu was trending worldwide. People were posting clips, making memes, expressing shock at the level of violence. WWE's engagement metrics probably went through the roof. Some fans were celebrating Jacob as the ultimate bloodline enforcer. Others were concerned about the brutality and wondering if WWE went too far. That division in reaction is perfect for generating discussion and controversy. Question: should WWE feature more violence like this to compete with other wrestling products, or should they maintain their current standards? Where's the line? Let's analyze what this means for everyone involved. For Jacob Fatu, this was his statement to the entire WWE roster. He's not just Roman's cousin, he's a force unto himself. He's positioned himself as the most dangerous weapon the bloodline possesses. For Bron Breakker, this is a humiliation for a second-generation star who's supposed to be the future. Getting destroyed by one man despite having a partner? That's a credibility hit he'll need to recover from. For Bronson Reed, similar situation. Reed has been positioned as an unstoppable monster, and Jacob just made him look mortal. How does Reed respond to being thoroughly beaten? For the bloodline, they just sent the clearest message possible: attack them at your own peril. This re-establishes them as the most dangerous faction in WWE. For the Vision, their two biggest physical threats just got destroyed. Does this fracture them further? Does this make them more dangerous out of desperation? Rank these 5 perspectives by who gained the most from this segment. Give me your 1 to 5 ranking in the comments. The storytelling possibilities moving forward are endless. Do Bron and Reed seek revenge, starting a war between the Vision and the bloodline? Does Jacob Fatu become a regular Raw presence, or does he return to being a special attraction? How does CM Punk, the current champion, targeting Paul Heyman factor into this bloodline versus Vision conflict? Does G use this as motivation to finally pick a side definitively? Do other bloodline members get involved, expanding this into a full faction war? Each of these directions leads to months of compelling television. The technical execution of this segment was flawless. The lighting for Jacob's entrance, the camera work capturing the violence, the crowd reactions, the commentary selling the shock, everything worked perfectly. This is the kind of segment that gets replayed for years. This is the kind of moment that defines careers and creates legacy. Jacob Fatu just announced himself as a main event player with one incredible performance. The comparison to other bloodline enforcers is inevitable. Solo Sikoa as enforcer was brutal but methodical. The Usos as enforcers were dominant through teamwork. Jacob Fatu as enforcer is pure chaos and violence. Jacob represents a different energy for the bloodline, less calculated, more instinctual, more dangerous. Which bloodline enforcer has been most effective, Solo, the Usos, or Jacob Fatu? Make your case in the comments. The physical toll on Bron and Reed should be acknowledged. Those weren't gentle wrestling bumps, those were impact moves that looked legitimately painful. Both men should be off TV for weeks to sell the severity of the attack. If WWE has them back next week like nothing happened, it undermines the entire segment. The consequences need to be real to maintain credibility. Paul Heyman's response to this will be crucial. Does he escalate by sending more Vision members after the bloodline? Does he try to negotiate? Does he manipulate the situation to create chaos that benefits him? Heyman's strategic mind is being tested. The potential for a full-scale war between the bloodline and the Vision is massive. Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, champion versus tribal chief. Jacob Fatu versus Bron Breakker, monsters collide. GUSO versus Logan Paul, settling family business. Other bloodline members versus other Vision members, that's multiple premium live events worth of content. Would you rather see an all-out war between these factions, or smaller individual feuds? Which creates better storytelling? Jacob's mention of "this is your only warning" suggests he's willing to do worse if provoked again. That's setting up potential escalation that could get very dark. WWE's rating must have spiked during this segment. This is appointment television, the kind of moment that makes people tune in live rather than watching clips later. The merchandise opportunities for Jacob Fatu just increased exponentially. Samoan werewolf shirts, only warning signs, highlight packages. WWE's merch department is probably already working overtime. Final questions before we wrap. 1. Was Jacob Fatu's attack the most brutal thing you've seen on WWE TV this year? 2. Can Bron and Reed recover from this humiliation? 3. Should the Vision retaliate or avoid the bloodline moving forward? 4. Is Jacob Fatu now the most dangerous person in all of WWE? 5. Does this attack make the bloodline too powerful or just right? Give me answers to all 5 questions. Here's my ultimate take. Jacob Fatu's destruction of Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed was legendary television that perfectly established him as WWE's most dangerous enforcer. This was justified retribution that sent a clear message: the bloodline is not to be trifled with. The segment was executed perfectly, the violence felt real, and the implications for future storylines are massive. Whether this leads to full-scale war or forces the Vision to reconsider their targets, WWE has created must-see television. Jacob Fatu is a star, not just because of his physical abilities, but because of his presence, his intensity, and his ability to make violence look believable. He's going to be a major player for years to come. Let me know everything in the comments. Was the attack justified? Who gained most from this? What happens next? And if you made it this far, drop Bloodline forever if you're supporting the family, or Vision Strikes Back if you think Bron and Reed will get revenge. Subscribe for wrestling analysis that captures the intensity. Like if Jacob Fatu's attack left you speechless. And share because everyone needs to witness this display of bloodline dominance. Until next time, protect your family, answer disrespect with action, and I'll see you in the next one.